Hey guys, sign up for our mailing account. You only have till Mondays, almost 8 o'clock tonight.
To sign up for the giveaway. Tell them about it.
Yes. So you can either win 8 epic games.
If you're in the United States, and if you're outside of the United States.
And if you win, and 2 of them get a lucky 25 Amazon gift card. I wish I lived out of the USA and was listening to this and entered.
But if you're in the US, you can win all of those 8 games. One lucky winner in the US will win 8 games just because it takes so much to ship outside of the US. So one US winner will win 8 games, and 2 outside the US listeners will win the $25 gift card.
And there are 12 ways to enter.
So they have until when to enter?
I told you, almost 8 p.m. tonight.
Pacific time.
Yes.
So definitely check that out. So you have till 7:59 p.m. We'll leave a link in the show notes now
on Sunday. This is the 14th of May.
The Monday. So now on to the show.
Getting Geeky with Gamer Leaf, the podcast in which one man strives to level up his geekhood and helping you do the same, one battle at a time. Now, let's get geeky with Gamer Leaf.
You enter the list. The crowd cheers as your name is announced. Your opponent stares you down, drawing his sword from the sheath. You look at him. Your heart starts to beat. And with a lay on, you charge at each other. Swords clash. Sparks fly. The crowd is going wild for your names.
Did that sound familiar to you guys? It didn't to me neither, but this is a story of the Swords of Valour card game. It's a new card game that's currently on Kickstarter, and we're lucky enough to have on the creator mastermind behind this great game, Haven. Is that correct? Is that how you fall into line with this new game? You're the mastermind and creator behind it?
That would be a humble title, I agree.
Well, there you go. Well, thanks for joining us on Getting Geeky with Game Relief. We really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for having me.
No problem. So before we get into this great game, let's rewind a little bit if we could, Haven. We don't have to go back too far, of course, unless you were born into, I guess in this instance, board gaming and as well sword fighting. How did you, I don't know if one came before the other or whatnot, but maybe if you could give us a little bit of your history.
Well, they kind of do coalesce. I was actually raised by geeky families back in the late 70s, early 80s. I have memories of playing D&D with my parents when I was about 5 and 6 as the friendly ghost who got to roll the dice with my parents. They go back even further to I want to say like the Wolverine gaming clubs of the University of Michigan back in the early 70s. That's how I really kind of got into the fantasy world of it. And then they also did a group called the Society for Creative Anachronism, which got guys in full armor beating each other up with sticks. So I was raised doing that. But when I came of age, I kind of wanted to branch off and do my own thing. And so I found a group local to where I was living at the time, which is in Kalamazoo, Michigan, that did the same kind of fighting, but without the armor and with real swords, so real steel. And it was love at first feel of an actual blade in my hand, and I fell in love with it and fell in love with the performing aspect of it, of being in front of a crowd, because I was also raised doing plays and theater for as long as I can remember. So while I kind of was always sword fighting, I was always with sticks when I was a kid. And then I branched off into actually learning real sword fighting with real swords as I became an adult. And now been running the same group with my wife for almost 15 years now. And we train other people and pass the knowledge on of stage improvisational sword fighting combat. So.
Oh, wow. So instead of killing somebody, you fell in love with somebody on the sword fighting ring or whatever. What do they call that?
Well, the sword fighting list is what we call it. And I got, it was a little confusing actually when I was designing the game because I referred to lists and everybody kept asking me where the list was because they were looking for a list of names or a list of cards. And here I am saying, no, we're going to be in the list. And I meant the list is nothing more than an area marked off that you're going to fight in. I did actually. Came to my first practice with the Swords of Valor 15 years ago. And after the practice, I ended up going back to the house of the owner and met his daughter. And yeah, so ended up we started dating shortly after I I fell into the group. And 15 years later, we're married, have 2 kids that we are currently raising. One of them wants to take over the group when we retire, and so it'll be a 3rd generation because her parents are the ones that started it. The group itself has been going on for almost 21 years at this point. So, yeah, no, I kind of fell in love with the daughter, and who actually is the captain of the group. As we took over, we ended up changing titles, and she's now the captain. She actually runs it. She doesn't fight though because she wants to be able to write the paychecks, and is the lady of the woman in charge of the coin. She doesn't have to fight. She pays us to do that. So.
There you go. Somebody's got to do that. So whatever happened with your parents' group, the full battle armor and the sticks?
They actually still do it, but they now moved across the country, and my parents are now in Seattle. And last I knew, they were still somewhat involved. They don't fight anymore, but I think they still get involved occasionally. I still have an uncle who fights over in Vermont with the Society for Creative Anachronism, also known as SCA, if I throw that out there. They don't do what I do. In fact, my uncle kind of thinks that the fact that I use real swords when I do it is crazy. But I have only broken 2 fingers in 15 years of doing this, so I must be doing something right.
Oh, well, now, so how does it go down? Like, do you get to the point where you're almost jabbing them, or how's that work? Like, you don't want to kill anybody, I imagine.
Well, in a real sword fight, you would obviously go until somebody either yielded the list or somebody got too hurt or something. But that's more bloodthirsty. With what we do, we say we go to the yield, which means we go till somebody gives up the field, or we will go to what we call points, which is when somebody has scored a point is when they obviously showed they had bested you. We try not to actually hit each other, but put the sword in a position where, look, if I had stepped 1 step closer, I would have actually hurt you. I would have hit your arm, or I would have stabbed you, or done something that would have done bodily harm. We stop just shy of that point. So when somebody gets to 5 points is when they win the fight. Or we have had people who just give up because the guys who I've been doing this with, who are known as Vincent and York, are 2 of my longest fighters with me. They've been doing it with me for at least 3 to 5 years apiece. It's like dancing with somebody for 5 years. We just know how each other moves. We've been doing this for so long that we could actually extend a fight, actually, fully going after each other. It'll last like 5 to 10 minutes. And I don't know if anybody in your audience has ever actually done something for 5 to 10 minutes that's heavily involved. The best examples I could do would be somebody wrestling and like not counting out, like literally just continuing to wrestle with somebody for 5 to 10 minutes. Doing a very intensive workout for 5 to 10 minutes. To give you an idea of swinging a sword, a standard broadsword weighs about as much as 2 gallons of milk. So picture holding 2 gallons in 1 or 2 hands and swinging it around for 5 to 10 minutes, and it will wear you out.
Well, yeah, imagine that's got to be pretty labor intensive.
It is. My guys are in a lot of really good shape because of it. But let's go back to what we're talking about with the game. We wanted it to be like that. We are intensively fighting, and we go after each other in such a way that your adrenaline really gets going. You really get into the fight. We do our fights for an audience at Renaissance festivals, pirate festivals, and any place that really will hire us. I have some great stories about some weddings that we've done. But when the crowd really starts cheering your name, just like at a sporting event, you get into it. The adrenaline starts pumping. Time slows down almost. And what can feel like 20 minutes really has only taken 5 minutes or 3 minutes. And it goes by very quickly in real time, but you're you're into it so much, and with the adrenaline pumping and the endorphins going, that you just don't know that it's only been 5 minutes, and in fact you feel like it's been even longer. That is why we do it. It's a great rush. It's a great like physical high, kind of like runners. I've actually had a discussion with somebody who runs marathons, and they've described the exact same feeling of that intense adrenaline rush and exhaustion and being in the moment, and that's all you care about. Your entire world shrinks down to what's going on in front of you and the opponent you're working with. That's kind of what we do, and that's why we keep doing it, even though it's kind of dangerous.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm actually a runner. I enjoy running, and they tease about it's the only natural high. Well, it's the only high that's legal in all 50 states or whatnot.
Yep. When you and I were chatting earlier, that one of the things we do to actually work on our stamina is we start off every practice when we do sword fighting with a half-mile run. Most of my other guys will do either a mile or a half mile every morning on the days we don't do fight practice. We get some really weird looks, especially from like the jousters and some of the other troops, when we get up in the morning at a Ren Fair and you see us running around the outside of the perimeter or through the parking lots to get our blood going in the morning, just to get flexible.
Do you run with the sword in hand, or how does that work?
We have. We stopped doing that when the cops show up, though, because that's, apparently, even though it's blunted and it's not sharp and it's a stage prop, a guy running through town with a broadsword on his back draws unwanted attention.
Yeah, for sure. So when you're not doing the sword fighting, are you playing board games, or you still do the D&D, or how's that going?
We do a lot more board games, actually. So I was raised doing D&D, and I love the aspect of role-playing partially because of the performer in me. However, unfortunately, between life and kids and my friends' schedules, we never could set up a consistent time to play D&D or any of the other tabletop role-playing games that needed people to show up on the same nights on a weekly basis or even bi-weekly basis. We tried and can never get anything to really stick. And that is when my wife and I really switched over into more board games, so that it was, it didn't matter who showed up on a Monday night at my house. We'd fry up a bunch of pot stickers and just throw out a game. And I encouraged friends who came to my house to bring their games with me, which is how I've gotten into a lot of games, is because friends of mine would buy it and they'd bring it over and we'd all sit around and play. And that's really how we got into the board games, because then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who shows up. We got 4 people, 3 people, 5 people. We just throw a game out and play, and we didn't need to have that continuity every week. That's how we got into board games, and that was about 10 years ago. And since then, it's really grown. Amongst my friends, we're actually really big Slugfest people. We play a lot of Red Dragon Inn. That is like the favorite go-to game amongst my friends. So.
Okay, cool. So was that the game that got you in 10 years ago, or what game brought you in?
I really don't even remember which game we started off with. I just remember the fact that we couldn't keep a good group going to play. Actually, at that time, we were playing Firefly. So we ended up just going, well, screw this campaign that I wrote and spent months working on. What are we going to do? And I think like the first night we ended up playing an old Hasbro game called Heroescape. Whipped that out, played that for that first night, or one of the early on. I remember we played a lot of Heroescape in the beginning, and then it turned into getting more different people over. We used to have a standing game night at my house every Monday night. From show up, if you showed up early, you got fed. If you showed up after 6:30, you could eat the leftovers if you wanted, and just play games. It really depended. So we would play Red Dragon Inn a lot. We played a lot of Heroescape. We played a lot of different card games too, and I'm just really blanking on them. One of our favorite ones was actually to go and hit like the clearance bins because we were poor, starving kids, and pick up games from our local game shops that were being discontinued or really cheap. I found an old card game called Igor, which involved making weird mad scientist contraptions and stealing parts from other people and playing that one. I'm really blanking on all the different games we've played over the years.
Oh yeah, that's okay. There's so many out there even today. So, but you talk about the Red Dragon Inn. Is that your favorite game currently? Because I can't let you pick Swords of Valor card game because if I did, my audience might have me run through with the sword or something.
Oh, right. I would probably have to say it would be a toss up between that and um, the deck building game, the Marvel Legendary deck building game. Um, Mostly because it's the ones that a lot of other people like to play, and I'm just now kind of figuring out how to do board gaming. Most of the games I have really need at least one other person, so I kind of I love those games. Don't get me wrong, but I would definitely say it's a toss up between those two. Unfortunately, haven't been able to pick up anything new as of late. I have like a long shopping list on Amazon and on Board Game Geek of what ones I want to buy, but. I'm putting my oldest through college, and that's just apparently sucking up a lot of money. Apparently,
Yeah, looks like it. Yeah. So, yeah. So that's awesome. So you talked about both of those games. I'm really big into the deck builders. I like Star Realms and Cthulhu Realms and Hero Realms and stuff. I haven't played Dominion and the some of the classics are the ones that initially started the thing. I've heard of Legendary, but maybe there's somebody out there like me that hasn't been able to play it or get to the table or doesn't know about it. What can you tell us about Legendary, Haven?
well, it's set in the Marvel IP. There's the way you're supposed to play is randomly choosing the heroes, but my youngest daughter has some really key favorites in the Marvel, universe, and so we end up kind of letting her choose what people we're going to play. So you choose out 5 heroes and all of their cards, and that makes up your hero deck. You set that aside. Then you get to either randomly choose, or again, if we're letting my youngest help out with this, choose a mastermind, which can be from, depending on which expansions you have, could be anything from, let's see, like Red Skull. I know is in the main set. I want to say, oh man, I'm really blanking now. You're putting me on the spot here. I'm going to go to the most recent game we played of it, which we actually have the Guardians of the Galaxy expansion, which then allows you to have. Blanking on it. It's Sandar and all of those. But it allows you to choose various masterminds from the MCU and from the various other Marvel parts of it. You choose the mastermind. They tell you what henchmen come with it. You put the henchmen and the villains who are usually associated with it. Then you choose random ones that come with it. So the fun part of this for me has always been the fact that we could have, say, let's just go with Red Skull because that's one popped in my head. You could have Red Skull, and you automatically have like the agents of Hydra are the main villains, and the henchmen, and then you randomly choose some other ones, and you end up with like the Sentinels from X-Men fighting alongside the Hydra. What? Or the enemies of Asgard. Huh? Okay, sure. They've teamed up. But then if you draw randomly and don't let your daughter choose out like all Guardians of the Galaxy, you end up with like Wolverine fighting alongside Star-Lord, that's fighting alongside Deadpool, that's fighting alongside, I don't know, Nick Fury, and and like the Hulk. Those are your heroes. So you can end up with like heroes from all over the Marvel, landscape, and all these villains from all over, and then you duke it out. And the best way that you start off with is you start off with just these agents that help you recruit the cards that allow you to then play the cards of all of the heroes that you chose. And you build up your deck as you play the game so that you can, of the various hero cards. And then the villains come out and you're trying to stop them before they finish off whatever the quest is from the mastermind, whether it be to collect all the Infinity Stones, or there's been some really interesting ones. Like there's one that has it with 2 different races, and you have to keep them equal. If more than one have escaped, then you lose. You have to keep them. It doesn't matter how many there are there, but you have to keep them equal. If there's more than 2 of one of them, and they've become more powerful than the other, and the world ends or something. I don't remember exactly what happens.
Oh boy. So are you playing are you one of you guys is a hero and the other person is a villain, or is it competitive or is it co-op?
It's totally co-op, and that's actually one of the things I love about it, because I don't know. Maybe it's because I had two very headstrong daughters, but I went searching for a lot of co-op play games because otherwise they would rub it in each other's faces that one beat the other. So yeah, very co-op. You're all playing the heroes versus the board and the mastermind, and the cards as you're dealing out the cards from the villain deck kind of lay out how the mastermind's plans play out. So like there's some master strike cards in there that are randomly shuffled in, and if you pull one of those, the mastermind actually shows up and does something really horrible to everybody. So it's co-op, you versus the board. There is a point system at the end that you can say, all right, so my daughter did more damage to the mastermind and defeated more actual villains, so she's technically the winner. But I think in all of the games we've played, I think maybe only like twice we've ever actually added up all the points. The bigger point for us is, did we beat the mastermind? Yes or no? And if we didn't, then we don't even bother to count. If we did, I think most of the time we even are like just happy that we won. Yay, we beat Red Skull. Can we go to bed now? All right, cool. So, yeah. So, no, I'm a very big co-op person.
Cool. Yeah, me and my wife and my family are more into competitive games. We like to kill each other and beat each other up or whatnot in games and whatnot. My son Barbarian Leaf, he'll be 10 pretty soon here. He likes the competitiveness, but he's always asking if he can be on somebody's team just in case, so he won't end up losing. Now, something that isn't co-op, if I'm looking at it right, is the Swords of Valour. Is that competitive or co-op? And the word on the street is, in regards to that, you have a new game on Kickstarter. What can you tell us about that, Haven?
Well, it is a completely competitive, which goes against, of course, everything that I love. But it is you versus either another opponent, or there are rules if you have multiple decks to be able to do 3 and 4 player. And at that point, you are against everybody. I'm trying to work out rules that will eventually allow you to do like a 2-on-2, which is something we actually do in the show as well. But it is completely competitive. It is you versus the other person. We tried to make it a very fast-moving game, and I'm actually in the process right now of working on a video that will show how fast the game works. Because unfortunately, when I did my playthrough video, I took it and slowed it way down so I could explain the rules. Like, you play this, and then they play that, and they laid it all out. But then it slowed it all down, and even I went, okay, yeah, this is not the way it works. To give you an idea, when each game is wrapped up in under 5 minutes, I think the longest game we've had run was 7, and I'm pretty sure that's because we were talking too much. The idea behind it was to actually feel like an actual sword fight. It would to be just an exchange back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And to wrap up quickly, there is a little bit of luck involved, but it's a good mix between, I feel, luck and skill, because that to me is what an actual sword fight is. So it starts off with one player choosing a card from their hand, a hand of 5. You throw out the card with a strike that you want. There are 4 locations: head, side, diagonal, and low. Or sorry, not head. We changed that. So it's high, side, low, and diagonal. Your opponent then has to block from their hand. Now, each card has both a strike and a block on it. So you're looking at it, because when you play that block, the strike you play against your opponent is on that same card already. So if you play a low block that has a high strike on it, you're already playing that strike back on your opponent. When we were doing a lot of play testing, when we tried doing them on multiple cards, we ended up with a lot more cards, larger hands, a lot more thinking, a lot more cards being played. Like, you blocked and then you played a strike, and then you had. So by putting them both on the same card, it actually sped things up a lot and actually got me down to that time frame I wanted, where it actually could feel like a real sword fight. Again, so you're scoring 5 points when you can't block a strike against you. Your opponent scores the point against you. They move that fight stack in front of them where to mark that they had the point, and then immediately play another card, and you just keep going. The idea of what we had was, again, for it to be fast, for it to kind of give you that feel of it actually being a sword fight. So like I said, I'm working on a video that right now will hopefully show people that's how fast the game is, and give you a bit more of an idea of to everybody on Kickstarter on what the feel of it is, which is what I really was going for. It is a simple game, but that was the point. I wanted it simple, fast, fun, and able to have some advanced strategies in there if you think about it, or you could just throw it down and play quick. Something, like I said, anybody could grab, throw down, play quickly, and in between making dinner, or you're roasting marshmallows on a campfire or whatever, something that you could throw a few games out in 15, 20 minutes to keep the kids occupied, or to keep even your buddies from tearing up your fridge, So that's the premise of it. It's a competitive game. It's very fast. There's some other cards in there that add some more complexities to it. We have a press card, which kind of represents when somebody would step to one side and immediately strike back as opposed to blocking. In a multiplayer game, that card actually can play kind of like an instant. Even if two people are going after each other, you can play a press card on top of whatever was done, and it just trumps everything. You're now attacking. Doesn't matter what was happening underneath it. Then the other card that really mixes things up is a grapple. If you throw a grapple card out there, it's a representation of when the two fighters will lock up with each other and fight over for power real quick and then step away and keep fighting. When that happens, you take the fight deck, you shuffle it up, throw an extra card in, leaving the grapple card on the table, and then deal the cards back out to everybody. This allows you to you might end up with some of the cards your opponents played, and it really randomizes it and makes it so that you just don't know what's going to happen after the grapple, which is, again, more indicative of a real sword fight.
Awesome. It sounds pretty fun, but per se, somebody in the audience has fallen asleep. It wouldn't be because of you or this great game, Haven. It'd be because of me and my podcast. After listening to me for a while, they get tired of hearing me drone on and on. I want to say we're at the first part of May, and I want to say this morning we just dropped our 74th episode of the year, so they get a little tired of hearing me. And now they're suddenly jolted awake, so they don't hit that oncoming car or lose that sword fight that they're currently going through. So you have their full attention, Haven. Why should they take a chance on the Swords of Valor card game, especially with all the other great games that keep on going to Kickstarter? I was talking to one of my friends, Sky Carlisle from the board game websites, and he said ever since Kickstarter started or whatnot, since January, this has been the busiest that it's been in the board game realm. So why should they take a chance on this one especially?
Well, I would take a chance on it because, for one, I try to keep the price point as cheap as possible. We're probably one of the few card games on there, or at least we're even in the board game kind of realm, that's only $20 for the initial pledge. The other one is that it is fast and fun. It is family friendly as much as a sword fight can be family friendly, and it is a game that I feel that anybody can pick up and anybody can play. I feel it has a lot of playability, even with people outside of necessarily the board game realm. If they have any interest in sword fighting, Lord of the Rings, fantasy fights, anything that involves medieval even, or pirates, that they would have an interest in something like this. It's a quick, simple game that anybody can pick up. My 12-year-old daughter helped me play test it for the last couple of years, as much as even all the way up to my 60-year-old father-in-law, who was the original guy who started off our group. He's even played it and can pick it up and enjoys playing it while sitting around waiting. Like I said, we've done a lot of it sitting around waiting for dinner. I don't know why, but that just seems to be when we played a lot, was doing a lot of testing while we were waiting for dinner to be served. So take a chance on it for the because it's quick, fun, and you can play it with anybody.
There you go. So yeah, and we'll make sure we leave a link in the show notes so people can go ahead and check it out at least and see what you have to offer, whatnot. So that's awesome. Now let's see here. Yeah, so that's awesome. So yeah, so we'll go ahead and take a chance on that. Yeah, it looks really fun and exciting. What are you most proud of when it comes to this game?
Oh, let's see. The most proud I would actually say was the fact that it was a collaborative effort between me and the guys who I do the sword fighting with, and my wife and my daughter. This was a really big family endeavor. Over the last, I actually started working on a card game based on this, on my sword fighting group and on the sword fighting stuff. Going back many years, probably longer than I want to admit, and we just never got it right. But between myself and my wife and my kids specifically, and then the various members we've had in and out of the group over the years, we've kind of kept coming back to it in the off seasons and plugging away at it and trying to figure out ways to make it work. At one point, the mechanics were really clunky and was kind of almost like Pokemon almost, where everybody had like a bench of fighters and you played one out, and there was coin flips and some dice rolls and stuff. And it just ended up being super long and slow. And so I think what I'm really the most proud of is the fact that this was a big group effort from my family, which this is our group. We own this group. This is us. We're not using anybody's intellectual property. This is us. And actually, one of the funny part is what I really would love to do is eventually get to that first stretch goal that we have, because then it actually unlocks people being able to play as us, playing as the characters and as the personas that we portray at festivals. So that would, being able to play as myself, being able to play as Vincent or Yorick or Lilith, my daughter, or even as the captain. That's part of what I'm really kind of proud of, is the fact that we've integrated all of that, and that this is something that we created. Like, this is us. This is from scratch. This isn't anybody else's idea. This is 15 years and multiple people's personalities all thrown in on this. So it's completely created from us. I think, okay, so maybe a tie between those two then.
Okay, there you go. So, yeah, so it looks like right now you're going for about 2,500, and that first stretch goes at 5,000. Is that right?
Yep, the 5,000 would unlock getting us all the character cards and include me sending out character cards with those decks. So if I hit the 5,000 mark, I'm not there's no increased pledge goals. There's no like you have to buy more. No, if I hit $5,000, the pricing goes down low enough that I can print the character cards, and I will give any backer who's done at least the combat deck or higher a list of all the character cards, and you get to choose the 4 you want me to send you, and I will send you those 4 cards of those characters, and I'll give you the name and what their abilities will be. Hopefully maybe a mock-up of what it'll look like. Would depend on how I can convince the graphics design guy to be able to do it, because that's part of the reason we're raising the money we are, is because I can't draw.
And when you said you would let us pick the characters or whatnot, you said list, but there's 2 different kind of lists.
Yes, there is 2 different kinds of lists. If you hear me say list, there's the list that we fight in, which is an area marked off that we do the sword fighting in. But I will give you a list of an actual list with bullet points and names that you can choose from when it comes to the people of the group and of the different characters. And there'll be 10 different cards that you'll be able to choose from.
Okay, well, that's pretty cool. So yeah, and per se, somebody takes a chance on the Swords of Valor card game. I know you don't want to overpromise and underdeliver, but when would they anticipate getting their deck of cards so they can start sword fighting there before they eat dinner or whatnot?
The Kickstarter says September. But if I manage to play all my cards right and we get funded through the Kickstarter, I will immediately, as soon as I have enough that we hit the goals for the Kickstarter, my graphics design guy said he was willing to get to work right away without having to get paid up front to get everything designed. I'll be printing through basically sending it off to the printers as soon as he gets done with it, which should be, I'm guessing, the beginning of June, mid-June. As soon as we get them back from the printers, which they told me about 2 weeks, I hopefully have decks in hand by July. But because I like going by the old-fashioned Star Trek derivative of I'm going to tell you September, so that when I ship them in July, you're happy.
There you go. And then you don't have a bunch of angry people showing up with swords and wanting to run you through or whatnot.
Well, I mean, they can, by all means, come down, and if you really want to take on an old guy there's a saying that old guys with swords get that way for a reason.
There you go. Now, I don't know if you've gotten a chance to listen to our podcast. I want to say you did, Haven, but even if you haven't, the next portion of our podcast is called Adventures in Application Acquisition, where we talk about an app, be it for a cell phone, a tablet, a computer, or even a video game. And it doesn't necessarily have to do anything with tabletop board gaming or even sword fighting for this matter, but it can. Is there an app you use a lot of that we can talk about for a moment?
Well, it depends. Do you want to go like super, super geeky, or would you actually want to talk about the one that I probably use kind of the most?
The ball is in your court, I guess.
Oh,
the one you want to use the most, or the geeky one, it doesn't matter to me.
Okay, well, let's see. I'm gonna actually look at my phone and say I won't just say the games that I play, because that's just, I think everybody plays way too many phones, or way too many games on their phones these days.
Yeah, for sure. Whenever my little daughter, she'll be 5 in December. She's Little Leaf. My other kids, they always ask if they can use my phone, and I automatically say, "Who are you going to call?" But they usually want to end up watching a movie or something. But I always ask who they're going to call.
No, I'm not going to use a phone to call. All right. Well, if I'm going to go by what my battery tells me I use the most, it's going to be Pokemon Go.
There you go. So per se, somebody hasn't. I don't know why they wouldn't have, but per se, somebody hasn't. Doesn't know what Pokemon Go is. I know I'm not really explaining it when I talk about it, but I always tell them when they want to find out about our website or our podcast, or when I always tell them to go to Game Relief Go, kind of like Pokemon Go, but GameReliefGo.com. But per se, somebody hasn't necessarily heard about Pokemon Go. What can you tell them about that, Haven?
To me, it's the flashback of the old-fashioned Pokemon games on the old Game Boy Colors, and me sitting around with my brothers playing it on the front porch is where I go back to. But the game itself allows you to actually walk around your neighborhood, your town, or anywhere actually, if you really want, catching Pokemon as if they were in real life. And they have a nice little augmented reality, if your phone's battery is pretty decent, that allows you to actually superimpose that Pokemon in your local park. I have pictures of my daughter posing with a Ghastly and Bulbasaurs, and around here, Drowsies. We're drowning in Drowsies. It allows you to actually, catch them in real life, collect them. They actually have started implementing, battling in gyms so that you can take them on and take them over. Supposedly, we're going to actually get it to the point where you can fight each other as trainers, but I'm not holding out hope on that one yet. But the biggest catch for me is actually being able to go out, be outside, go for a walk. It's what me and my wife actually do on some inexpensive date nights. We'll grab a couple dollars Sundays and go walking through our local downtown, which is littered with Pokestops and Pokemon, and tons of people playing Pokemon too, Pokemon Go. And so we will go and we'll just go walk and get some good exercise and talk and get excited when we come across some legendary Pokemon that nobody catches, and or even just ones that we just really love from our childhood, that bring back memories of bygone days of old 8-bit video gaming.
Well, there you go. Do you ever take your swords out in case you come across a dragon or anything?
Oh, no. I really wish that there was actually a better game like that. Although, gosh, now you're making me think about it, because I want to say somebody actually on Kickstarter again was doing a Kickstarter for an augmented reality like zombie hunting game that had swords in it.
Oh, wow. Well, there you go. Yeah, I haven't heard of that one. So, per se, you own the rights to Pokemon Go. What would be one thing you would do to make it better or fix it, Haven?
Ooh, man, now I'm going to end up with Hanky coming down and hunting me down. I would, if I could make any one change, it would be, I would add the ability to heal your Pokemon at Pokestops, or specific Pokestops. Like they have Poke Gyms. I would love them to actually do like Poke Centers like they actually have in the games, where if you stand near it, all of your Pokemon just heal themselves, just like in the older games. That's something I would really love to see, because I throw away potions because I am cheap and I don't have a lot of backpack space.
Oh, there you go. There you go. So, yeah, we try to make a green podcast around here. So, if the creators or anybody that has anything to do with the development of Pokemon Go is listening, you heard it here first what Haven would do to make it a better app.
Yeah, definitely Pokestop or Poke Centers. Let's bring it on.
There you go. I'm still waiting for Mario Kart Go. That's what I want.
Oh, no, because then people are going to throw banana peels out their windows. That's just totally going to end up, well, I don't know. Actually, I don't know how bad the drivers are around where you are, but yeah, no. I luckily never got that bad here. The worst we had was the having to remind people that they should stop walking and drink water. We down at the local park that when Pokemon Go first came out and it was super huge. It's actually still really huge around here. I'm in a college town, so I don't know if that plays a part in it, but there's tons of college students always downtown playing Pokemon during the good summer days. There was a couple people making a really brisk business in selling bottles of water because people would just be out there playing, and I'm watching. I mean, I work outdoors a lot, so I kind of know what heat stroke looks like, and it's like, that guy's going to pass out. Yep, I called it. Somebody get him some water.
Oh boy, there you go. So yeah, so make sure you're drinking water if you're playing that game. And Haven, mind us coming there to Kalamazoo to sword fight you or to stalk you. How would somebody go about finding out about what you have going on, both in the sword fighting as well as in the board gaming community?
Well, the board gaming community, I'm actually hoping to come up with a couple other games. My daughter and I actually have been brainstorming a lot. Even while we wrapped this one up, I would say that we already moved on to coming up with some other ones that we're hoping to come out with in the next year or two, where we'll work on. The next one that actually my wife really wants to do is a tile placement game that actually has you building a Renaissance fair, since that seems to be something we know really, really well. Yeah, kind of like there's a board game called Zombies that we play a lot, where you build the town out as you play, right? And you put the zombies in play. Think of the same thing, but you're building a Ren Fair. And as opposed to having zombies, you have patrons and people who are actually coming and visiting the festival and doing stuff like that. We haven't worked out all the details. That's totally preliminary. We're currently still working on hand-drawn tiles at this point. But that's the concept of that. So I will hopefully be posting some more of that on my own stuff. I haven't really come up with my wife has told me I should come up with my own an area to put all that. We're still working on that part, since this is all Swords of Valor IP. But Swords of Valor, you can find us at theswordsofvalor.com, and Valor is spelled Valour. It's the Old English. You also can find us on Facebook, Instagram. I don't think we have a Twitter. I don't remember. I'm not the Twitter person. So those are the three places you can find out a lot of us, as well as, and our Patreon page. Actually, my wife just reminded me. We have a Patreon page, and one of the things we're actually going to be doing on our Patreon page is putting out training videos for sword fighting and doing what we do, since it's not necessarily full on. Yes, I could teach you to hurt somebody if you really pay attention, but what we actually going to teach people is our style of improvisational sword fighting as it affects stage combat. So being able to not necessarily fully rehearse a combat. I have seen way too many times when you do choreography that people get hurt because people can forget choreography or they miss one step. Your partner goes ABC, you go ACB, somebody just got stabbed, is going to the hospital. By actually teaching people to defend themselves in a sword fight and defend them and attack in an improvisational way and rely more on your instincts and training as opposed to the choreography. We've done this a few times with some of the local high schools and some other theater troupes that they can put on a better, more realistic sword fighting in the background, even with extras, that is less likely to cause an injury because you're not trying to keep track of your choreography. You're actually training them to do some sword fighting. So we're actually looking at doing some training videos with our Patreon page. Once we hit a certain level, we'll start producing those videos of actually showing how we do and walking people through the steps. So even if you're not in Michigan and don't feel like coming all the way to the Great White North, which, by the way, it was snowing last week. So it's 80 degrees today. It was snowing last week. If you don't want to come up to Michigan, by all means, you can hit us up on our Patreon page, throw a buck in my hat, and we'll, like I said, once we hit actually, I want to say it's like $100 mark, we'll start producing training videos, teaching people how to do what we do.
Well, there you go. You heard it here first. Well, maybe you haven't. Are you on any other podcasts we should be aware of?
No, you are the only podcast who's asked to talk to me. I am only going to be talking to you.
Well, there you go. I always like to say, you heard it here first on Getting Geeky with Game Relief.
I tried been saying that. Getting gamer with Geeky Leaf. That's how I ended up. See, I stumbled all over it myself. Getting geeky with Gamer Leaf. Yes, you heard it here.
Yeah, sometimes my kids, they like to say it too, but sometimes they stumble on it as well. And we've been doing this for almost, come middle of this month, in fact, we'll have been doing this for a year.
Wow, congratulations then on a 1-year anniversary, a little early.
Well, thank you. There you go. But yeah, we don't want to keep you all night, but we really appreciate you coming on Getting Geeky with Gamer Leaf with us tonight, Haven.
Oh, it's been a pleasure, Leaf, and I hope to hear more. And you guys keep up the great work. I will. I have you downloaded on my podcast player. Unfortunately, I work in a customer service industry now, and apparently I get busy.
Well, I was going to say, it's probably hard to go ahead and do that sword fighting with a podcast in your ear, don't you think?
Yeah, it can be a little bit, but I do a lot of traveling though, and we're actually just about hitting my travel season, and podcast is one of my go-tos when we travel. We travel around so much, and you hit those spots where radio doesn't come in the greatest. I love actually throwing on a good podcast and just cruising down the highway on our way all over. Well, like I said, we travel all over the Great Lakes. Plus, my family and I were really big into traveling just to go on vacations too. They haven't really figured out where we're going this year, but last year we drove all the way to DC from Michigan. It was something like 10 hours, but it was worth it totally.
Well, there you go. There you go. Yeah, so you'll have to let us know what you think. I'm always one for constructive criticism, but yeah, we don't want to keep you all night. I know you got to get up early to, I guess, sword fight, I guess.
Yep, I actually have classes I'm training all day tomorrow, so I get to go play pirate all day.
Well, there you go. Well, we appreciate you taking the time out to join us on Getting Geeky with Game Relief. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much, Leaf. It's been a pleasure.
No problem.
It's time for Kickstarter Corner. To begin now. You heard me right. It's Kickstarter Corner time. Yay! Today we're going to be talking about a few games from forward, not backwards, so I don't have to talk backwards. So first we have On Their Merry Way, relaunching May 5th, canceled.
May 15th. Yeah, it's relaunching May 15th, so when you hear this, it'll be relaunching tomorrow, so that's awesome. And yeah, check it out.
And it's from Robin Hood.
So tell us a little bit about it.
A light strategy board game featuring Robin Hood merrymen with an all-new path-building mechanic and one-of-a-kind artwork.
Yeah, definitely check out this one on the Kickstarters. I believe they're going for about 30 days, somewhere around there. I had them on an interview during about 2 weeks ago. So definitely go back and listen to that, and hopefully he'll let his backers, he'll do that as an update so you can hear about it. But definitely check this one out. He's actually got some things he's changing for the relaunch. Tell him what he's planning on improving.
Better shipping options and a print and play for remote backers, whatever that means. Updated pricing structure and reward tiers.
Reward tiers.
Do better at showing off what's fun and different about On Their Merry Way.
Yeah, so definitely check that out. They're relaunching tomorrow, like we said. We'll leave the link in the show notes for all these. And then we've got the Pit, the board game.
Four-player cooperative dungeon crawler in an epic science fiction universe inspired by the cult classic video game. So if you were in the oldies, you could play it.
You can play it in the newies too. But yeah, so they're going through the 10th of June, so definitely check this one out, the Pit board game. I love the art, and there's a lot of dice, so definitely check this out. It looks like an awesome, epic game. There's a couple miniatures that come with it, and yeah, they're doing really strong, and hopefully they'll keep going.
Maybe we'll back it, because after 4 days of this, 3 days after this, it ends, it will be my birthday!
Oh, hey, we don't need that. We don't need that. None of that kind of talk on the podcast. And then we've got Treasure Mountain, which combines
worker placement and tiles laying to create a unique experience where you can bump other workers off space and take the action. Oh, and my birthday is in 32 days.
Interesting. And this one you have through the 1st of June. So definitely check it out. They funded it in 33 hours. It was an excellent game. I had an interview with the creator of this one as well. So definitely check it out on the Kickstarter. And then we've also got
Forgotten Fight, a deck building card game. You need to choose a team of 3 heroes to prove that you know the best combo.
Definitely check this one out. They've got 44 days to go. So definitely check it out. Even if you jump on there for $1 a time, you'll get an update every day from the creator. He gives you an update about the cards and about the different characters. So it's pretty cool. Anyways.
And they end in 44 days, which is June 26th.
So definitely check that one out on the Kickstarters.
26.
Yeah, like she said. And then we've got...
No Escape. No Escape is a competitive maze building. Take that game for 2 to 8 players. They end in 4 days.
Yeah, or a couple days when you hear this. They end on Thursday. So definitely check this out.
In 1 day.
On Thursday.
No, 3 days.
Yeah, so Thursday when you hear this. So check it out. It's a pretty fun game. I interviewed the creator of that as well. And
hopefully they refund.
Hopefully they launch. Hopefully they reach their goal is what she means.
I think parents did this one. Election night. Learn your way to the White House. I think they want their kids to know more about school.
So what can you tell us about it?
A fun game to master timetables, addiction facts.
Not addiction. They want to know about addition.
Yeah, addiction.
Math.
Geography and the civils.
Or the civics of the electrical college.
Watch
and the kids
these kids have fun.
Yeah.
And Sky Carlos is a backer. That's cool.
And they go through the 18th of May.
Yeah.
So definitely check that one out. And then last but not least is
Fire Tower. Defend your tower and take down your opponent in this fast-paced board game of strategical pattern laying and hand management for 2 to 4 players.
Yeah, so you're going to trail off there then. But yeah, 2 to 4 players. Definitely check this one out. They go through the 24th of May.
Yeah, and We're Not Wizards is one of the backers.
And they fund it in less than 2 hours. So definitely, we got to let Princess Leaf get off the bed. We wanted to say thanks for joining us on
Getting Geeky with Gamer Leaf.
So we're going to go ahead and sign off. Go ahead and
get geeky, stay geeky, and bring others into the geek fold. Check out Kickstarter Corner on Kickstarter Corner. Gamer Leaf out.
Yeah, and then Gamer Leaf out and Princess Leaf out. Make sure you go ahead and if you forgot already and don't remember, go ahead and make sure you sign up for our giveaway that ends at 7:59 p.m. Pacific time tonight. Anyways, go ahead and get geeky, stay geeky, and bring others into the geek fold, like she said. Gamer Leaf out.
Gamer Leaf levels up. Tune in next week to see if Gamer Leaf's luck holds up.